red, oh, sorry.
Oh, I did this one already. Oh,
There you go. Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, June 26th at 9 AM. We'll start our work session. Do we have any public comment to start off with in the room? Anybody online? Okay. Will, you want to kick it off with oh, actually, Elena.
Yeah, I think she's behind you.
Oh, you're right there. How are we gonna do that?
There, I can see here.
That's why I thought.
Elena, do you want to?
So she's.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will.
You served your chair.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. I think hopefully Will said he put the packet, so you guys have some information. So that's what I want to review with you guys today. We've been working with your team, and so they have been engaged this year, as we have looked at your CIS renewal offer. Do you have,
This is what was sent.
maybe I should look like that. I was
Yeah,
hoping.
2019 and 2020 was bad, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
This
that,
one?
can we start there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what I wanted to do today is bring to you, a picture kind of the development of the policy. So I'm looking at a 3-year history, and really what I like to talk about, the easiest things to look at, right, are what we pay and why we pay, what we pay. So it's a look back from 2022, 23, and 24. See, the annual contribution is the first number of how CIS calculates what you're going to pay. Then you have some discounts and credits that are applied. And that premium after discounts, that's what you actually pay to CIS. The agency charges a fee in lieu of a commission, which is a high dollar benefit to you. And we'll get into that a little bit as well. The one thing, and I'll talk about a little bit later, but we did want to quote a little higher property deductible for you guys this year. Currently for your structures, you carry a $5,000 deductible. And with the changes with your increase in total insured value and also rolling on a substantial structure, looking at a higher deductible, you could realize significant premium savings. So to take it up to a $10,000 deductible, you would save almost $40,000 a year, which is pretty significant. And that's why I shared the property claims history, so we can dive into that a little bit too. The second table on this sheet is going to show the factor in why, part of why our premium continues to increase. You guys are growing, right? Your personal services are up 36%. That's substantial. So there's two factors, heavy factors, that generate premium for you, and that's your liability and your property. There's other little pieces too, but those are the ones that really move the needle. So our exposures are up, we're growing, our property is up, we're growing, we're gonna pay more. CIS's rates have also increased, but that combined with our increases is why you're seeing these rate increases. The other thing that has affected the rate is your loss history. So they look back on a 4-year term. So 2018, 2019, that year of your claims fell off, and it was a better year than 22, 23. So you had kind of a worse year replacement, which is increasing your premium as well. One thing to talk about is the property. So with the addition of the Justice Center, whether we're adding it 7-1 or we kick out the builder's risk policy a few weeks, we're kind of fine tuning that right now for you. It's coming on, whether it's 7-1 or 8-1, right? But that does mean that your total insured property is really increasing almost 50%, $35 million structure. So heavy rate here. And another reason why we like to talk about that higher deductible, so you can control some premium in the areas that you can. The ways that you can control the premium, you have favorable claims, right? That's a little out of your control, why we have insurance. You have best practices. You guys are doing a good job there, but it only moves the needle a teeny tiny bit. The heavy ways you can control your premium are participating in the alternative liability deductible plan, which you are, and I'm going to show you a couple other options here, and then your property deductibles. So your auto deductibles are in a pretty sweet spot. A few years ago, you took those up to $1,000 deductibles flat for auto. Now the property deductible that we're talking about, when your property premium is at about 30% of your total cost, this is why I think it's valuable to consider a higher deductible. And then the alternate deductible plan is page 2. If you could just scroll down. So from 2013, this is a 10-year look back at your history. 2013 to 2018, you had a standard liability plan. And then in 2019, 2020, this was when you guys decided to engage the alternative liability deductible. I don't think we've talked about it before, Susie. Do you have any
Just real
interest?
quick, yeah, just so maybe a little.
Great. So with liability in a typical insurance world, you don't have a deductible
Okay,
with your liability. So auto liability, premise liability, operational liability, we hurt somebody else, generally liability starts to pay. What the county did in 2019, because you faced a significant rate increase with the jail rolling on, was you engaged in this liability deductible. So now if we have a liability claim, we self-insure to a certain threshold, and CIS credits the premium substantially. So the higher liability deductible we assume, the better credit we get.
okay,
The plan back then was, I think, to try to strategize a trajectory to have a very large self-insurance limit, to have a very large credit, right? But it is about being disciplined with our budget and understanding our claims and walking through risk management. So that's kind of the snapshot of history in your decision here, and you can see how it has performed. So in 2019, we accepted this $100,000 aggregate deductible, which means over the policy term, we won't pay out more than $100,000 in our liability claims. If we have 20,000 in liability claims, we'll pay that. If we have 120, we're only gonna pay 100, and CIS will cover. So you get the discounted
when you're
initial
saying
premium.
we, now you're talking the county is
Yes.
100, okay.
I wanna
just
be
make
with the
sure.
we.
Yeah,
I'm the we.
no, well, no, I understand, but I want to make sure I
Okay,
understood.
correct.
Okay, perfect, all right.
Okay, so we have our deductible. The initial premium is the liability contribution less your credit, okay? And then what the deductible, actually what we paid for liability losses. And then the green, we like green. Green means that was our savings that year.
Okay.
So since you guys have engaged in the deductible plan, you've saved 263,000, almost 264,000. It's a really good option that you're taking control of. And last year you bumped up your level. So you went from 100,000 to 125,000. You increased your credit, right? But we are self-insuring a little higher
I want
level.
to say we have a savings, is that 89? Okay. Where we
Yeah.
at?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have any questions on that?
no,
Okay, so the next page, just because the way that I understood the intention of these plans was to maybe eventually grow into a higher deductible, I feel that I owe this to you to explore other plans, right? So if you want to ratchet up your savings, we're also looking at higher deductibles. So these are your current plan is the 125 on the top, and then this is a snapshot of what your CIS renewal would look like right now with the Justice Center on there, if you wanted to engage in a higher level deductible. So you could bump up to $150,000 aggregate deductible, then you would realize another $16,000 in savings. But you could also have an extra 25,000 in liability costs if you had a catastrophic claims year. Or you can shift to a different type of deductible plan, which is a per occurrence deductible plan. So that means instead of an aggregate over the whole year where you have a single bucket for your liability, for every single claim, you could have up to the limit, up to 50,000. It is important to look at your claims history and talk about like, how is it performing? How many claims have we had? Both of these would have performed well for you in a 10-year look back. And so the last page of this section, one more, sorry, is going to show the performance over the last 10 years, how much we would have saved had we engaged in these in 2013. I think most of our entities like the aggregate plan. They like the savings opportunity with the occurrence plan. But the aggregate plan has a ceiling on what we might pay. The occurrence plan doesn't, right? So we can forecast all we want. We can look at your history with your claims and talk about what we anticipate with your liability claims. but it doesn't mean that you have a crystal ball and you know what's gonna happen this year. And you could have a substantial, say, a multi-claim year that hit your per occurrence max and you could be out substantial premiums. So that's where some entities aren't comfortable with that budget. But you can see the savings is significant. So, do you have any questions on the deductible plan? Do you feel pretty good with 125 this year, where we're at?
Suzie, what are your thoughts? on
Well,
125?
I'm looking at occurrence,
Mm-hmm.
so on our history, occurrence almost seems like what is your gut feeling on the occurrence versus the total? Because it almost seems like on occurrence, we'd be better off to do that in your figures. But again, then we could have a catastrophic year and have
Yes,
10 claims, and now we're at 500,000.
you could.
So-
Looking at your claims history, the occurrence plans do perform better, but your self-insurance risk is elevated.
Yeah, super.
So I think absolutely the data says pulling the trigger on occurrence form is going to benefit you in the long run. Whether you're ready to do that or not, I think you have to decide. We can continue to talk about it. We could explore it throughout the year. I know that we've talked about doing some risk management. And I also think Will and Christina talked about working with departments so that they can also budget for their own exposures. But yeah, the data says an occurrence plan is going to be beneficial.
Okay. We're not making a decision today. This is just you.
I'm just presenting.
And our thought
Mhm.
process, so we can kind of think about.
I think
this.
the idea was to plant seeds.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah, we need to-
Christina and them working on it is a good idea.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of, have this conversation, but Elena, do we need to sign a renewal?
I mean, I signed the renewal, but I do want to talk about your, I'd like to understand trajectory, so I know what to bring as we move through this year. And maybe in February would be a good time to revisit this and build out the claims history to really unpack an occurrence versus aggregate option for you. But I would like to talk about the property deductible. To me, that's a no-brainer. That's why I did it. Now you can go all the way back to the top, I think.
Which I agree with you on that the
Mhm.
savings is enough and, well, like on the ranch, I had to increase my deductible to be able to afford farm
Wildfire
insurance.
super
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
right now
I
for
mean, yeah.
agriculture, you
No,
bet.
so I get it, so I don't have a problem with that, the other, the thing is people are not they're getting more litigious, so
Mm-hmm,
the occurrence thing does scare me.
yes,
But then it has a lot of savings, it's not like people are going down on suing, they're suing for everything.
correct.
But
And
it does have a really good savings, and if you're, like I said, you're looking at your 10-year history.
mhm.
Yeah.
The liability deductible is definitely, I think, a heavier conversation.
Yes,
The property deductible should be a little bit easier to look at data and to look at weather. Really, we're talking like, weather related or fire, maybe some vandalism, right? So that's where we look at our property claims history. These are only property.
sure.
And the reason 2019, 2020 looked so terrible is we had multiple weather events and they hit multiple buildings at the fairgrounds. So each one showed as a claim, which
So
was frustrating.
Why on the graph though, is it saying, I didn't quite understand, it's park and rec? Like you go down, there's one and it's park and rec. Are you just including park and rec? Cause they're their own district? I didn't quite understand
Oh, that's how
why.
they class your fairgrounds
Okay,
in their data. This
Oh,
is
okay.
in that's
Okay.
not my visualization,
Okay.
but,
so
so
it was the
when we.
fairgrounds.
When we look at our history of property claims, you guys, I mean, very positive loss history with your property. And that is why I think it's important to start to talk about absorbing a higher deductible, especially as we're rolling on large projects. So 2019, 2020, that was the only year that a higher property deductible wouldn't have performed for you.
Yeah.
But especially with the $38,000 savings, I think it's really important to consider, can we afford a higher deductible on our structures? That's really all I had. just to engage with you guys, bring this to the table, see if you're interested in the 10K deductible. I also like to be here, so everybody knows who I am. I'm here for questions. The last thing I really want to do is commend you guys. So when I moved over to Graybeal, I now have the opportunity to work with a lot of public entities in large special districts. And we know they're all unique and they're all particular. Crook County continues to be one of my favorites, not just because I live here, but your guys' team is phenomenal. So the people that we work with, the people that engage with us are proactive and articulate, and we really like working with your team. So thank you guys.
And are you with the 10,000 deductible? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm for raising the deductible.
How about you,
Kind
sir?
of-
Totally agree, yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence with this matter.
What was that, Brian?
I'm kind of on the fence about switching from aggregate to occurrence. I would kind of like to see, you know, we are growing and so our exposure is getting larger.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of like to see how that would work in that formula.
I think, yeah, I understand.
It is, it's very scary. It looks good on paper, but again, people are so litigious
They are.
now. And now you have a whole giant structure there.
And if you had one major event and it happened
Oh,
to
yeah.
a bunch of people, you'd be just done.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
on the figures, it's wonderful, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I'm concerned as well, but I appreciate the option.
Yeah,
I do too.
of course. So we like the $10,000 property
Yeah,
deductible.
and I don't know that 16,000 is enough to raise it to 150, from 125 to 150. 16 is kind of nothing, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. You know, to go and take another $25,000 risk for 16 premium. But again, that's just me. Insurance is just,
So fun.
between insurance and health,
Oh,
it's like, yeah, all the money is just like gone.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, you're just one claim away, so. Okay. Alrighty, I've gotta remember my password now. Okay, what,
If you wanna make the switch on the property, can we do that at any point or?
You could, yeah, if you decided that you wanted to do it midterm, you could change it midterm.
Can we do it at our next meeting?
Sure.
I think that's what I'm hearing from people, that we're ready to go.
I
Might as
mean,
well start
I
saving
totally
now
think it's a
instead
no-brainer
of
to
waiting
go,
6 more months.
to go to the 10.
The policy's 7-1, so everything was quoted with the annual change. So it would make sense for CIS to adjust the property deductible 7-1.
And I'm totally fine with that, so I don't know if we wanna put it on consent or, because I won't
think so.
be here
Yeah,
next
I think we
week,
just put it
so,
on consent.
fine with me.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
Is that good for you time wise?
fine. So it will get approved next
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
We'll leave.
July 3rd,
Sure.
yeah. Is that, or is
Or
that
it
a
would be
problem
better
though,
if we
or
did it
would we do
before
it
the
right
first?
now?
I mean, I'd like to submit my authorization to CIS soon.
Well, sure, so maybe we just go ahead and do it right now.
If you can do it now,
Would it be better? if
it
we
would be
did
better now, yeah.
I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to raise our property deductible from $5,000 to $10,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Aye.
Cool,
Good.
Thank you, that was a very good presentation,
Very
thank you
good.
very much.
thank you. Happy to,
Okay,
and y'all know how to get me. If you have
Okay.
a question or anything else comes up.
hopefully we don't have any, we have a 0 occurrence all year, hope for that.
That's what we like. Thanks for the chair, Will.
And we'll keep in touch on the builder's risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand ready.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, people.
Thanks, Anita.
No, okay.
And we raise, if that temperature, it's just not working.
It's just not kicking on.
You crack a window,
Well, I don't know if it's any better outside, that's the
I was gonna
problem.
say, I don't know
but
what it's
the
not.
shade it is.
We can try, if we
Want me
want
to?
to, but it won't. It's just like how yours and mine yesterday weren't even kicking on anything.
I don't know, I guess I get up on.
I would, can I help you?
I just stopped not feeling.
Yeah.
This wasn't feeling real good about it. The other day, the dogs in the laundry basket got me, so I'm a little skeptical.
Is it better or worse?
the kids.
I mean, it's just so,
Better.
it's just so much humidity.
The only thing
that
really-
We're all, we all need to quit breathing and be moisture in there.
It's
Okay.
across.
Can we open the door out there? Maybe we can get.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. Yeah, that's a super good idea.
They do the middle there.
Oh, that right there is perfect. Sarah, you're perfect. You have saved us,
And you're up.
and you're up.
Good morning, Sarah Beeler, Crook County Library Director. We are here today on the agenda to discuss the appointment of our new library board member. The current Crook County Library Board met on May 30th to discuss replacing Deb Merska. Her term expires in a few days, and we're looking for her replacement. And after discussion, they picked a first choice and 2 alternates, and Michael Stremme was their first choice. He has a long history in and financial background that they felt would be beneficial to the board. And then they also have 2 alternates, and so I'm not sure how you want to proceed from here, but that's where we ended up.
Well, I talked to you and I read his things, so in my opinion, we could just make a motion to go ahead and adopt Michael Streamer as our new library board.
We'll wanna roll it to consent agenda.
Yes,
Probably
it would go
wanna
to,
put it
it would
on.
go to
In
consent,
order.
but I mean, I don't see any reason why we don't just go to consent.
Yeah, I'm fine
My
with it.
opinion,
Brian?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
We want to thank all the applicants for their interest in being on the library board, and we appreciate their time and their commitment to our library system. So thank you all.
And it was, I think it's a reflection of you that so many people were interested in applying for this, and I wanna thank you, and I wanna thank all the applicants.
Yeah, I think so. Do you think we could have him come to the meeting and introduce himself?
Yeah, I'll ask you.
That would be helpful. Okay, anything else? Carrie?
Good morning, Carrie Hathorn, District Attorney. I put on the agenda, I was contacted by our local high school. They have a program that they are developing or doing or participating in that involves a high school student who is doing a work experience. The student is paid through COIC, but is interested in becoming a lawyer. So he is interested in doing an internship, but wouldn't cost the county anything. But we would have a high school student who would be wanting to, participate in our office. I was thinking we could have them do scanning, they could go to court with attorneys. Will and I have talked about, potentially the student going, if there's any land use hearings, to just expose a local Crook County student who's interested in the law in our local community legal process. And hopefully grow and develop future lawyers who will come be prosecutors in the DA's office. Doesn't cost the county anything. Michelle Jonas from the high school, is on video. If you have any questions, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what we were working on and answer any questions. I don't think anything needs to be voted on. I'm just
And
opening it up for discussion.
I'm thinking that you looked over the contract, I looked over the contract, but I figure you, as an attorney, looked it over and you're fine with it?
I did, I talked to, the person who's running it just to confirm, and I sent it to Eric as well. If, we don't anticipate there being any issues, but if there was an issue, it's mutually able to be terminated. It's for 150 hours, for the student to work. So I think it's a pretty good opportunity to build our community and give back to our community.
No, I think it's
excited, yeah.
excellent. I think it's really good to be doing that, so I'm all for it. I'm glad COIC, I'm glad we have funding and we're doing it, and so I guess, do we need to put it on consent agenda?
I don't think so. I think we have some interim policies. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of what I was doing, because it's a little bit of a different process than we normally did. So,
And hopefully they'll come back.
10 years, we'll have a future lawyer.
Gotta start somewhere, Carrie.
All right, Stephanie?
This is a very simple contract extension. Annually, we have to have a pharmacy audit and we're just gonna have medications in our jail. And this is just an extension to it. It's less than $200 a year that it ends up costing us, so. Pretty simple stuff.
I'd say put it on consent. To me, I love
Yeah,
that.
sounds good to me.
Alex, all right.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephanie.
Crystal?
Okay, now we come to the big.
Yay. And is it okay for me to share my presentation?
I have it in our packet, so I can just pull that back up.
Mine's interactive.
Oh, wow, we want to interact.
logged on.
But it's
Oh,
it's
yeah, you should be
disabled.
able to,
You know,
yeah.
I wondered why you were up there and here. I was like, but I
There
figured
you
this
go.
was a fancy
Oh,
question.
perfect. Yes.
And I did remember my password and I am rebooted, Stephen, so I'm very proud this morning.
We're so experienced.
Okay.
Good day.
Right, my name is Crystal Chellis. I am a consultant and HR consultant that has been brought on to help Crook County and the HR team navigate a potential hopeful HR information system, or HRIS, as I'll reference it through the presentation. This is the condensed version, just for time and expediency, so please, if you have any questions or anything doesn't make sense or you'd like me to dig deeper, just let me know. But we'd like to talk to you today about adopting an HRIS called NeoGov. We hope to increase our operational efficiency for the county, for the team, for the HR, the department heads, improve employee satisfaction, and hopefully seek to get NeoGov approved for everyone. Current challenges. Right now, a lot of the processes are manual. Your payroll is manual. You have fragmented systems through the different divisions that lead to inefficiencies. Employees are not able to easily, quickly access information, the same for managers. And we're facing some recruitment challenges, right? Inefficiencies in the recruitment process and the onboarding process. So investing in this technology is going to help you address that. It's going to give people digital access to information. It allows folks to have self-service to their information, their payroll, their benefits, vacation time, real-time communication through performance management, through learning and development. And it also is going to become more efficient for you, give you cost savings because you're getting into automation, data accuracy, and time savings for people. We want to do a 180 here. We want to propose NeoGov. It's a comprehensive HR solution, and what's really special about it is it's specifically tailored to public sector. And that really spoke to the committee as we were going through our different evaluations of the systems, that every module is specifically for a public sector. So they spoke the language. There are a handful of really awesome features that are provided in this service, but this is just to kind of give you some top level. There's a recruitment module that allows for recruiting, onboarding. There are different performance manual or systems that allow everyone to have access to the system to make it individual for the departments, but also still maintain consistency and streamline in how the process works through NeoGov. And over 6,000 different public sectors use NeoGov. So this is just sort of a capture from some different locations of information about what they like about it, their testimonials. It's built out of 3 different modules, and each of those modules have components. We are proposing the entire system. I mean, there wasn't a module that the team didn't go through that was like, oh my gosh, this, or oh, what we could do with that, or wouldn't that be amazing? So this is just a snapshot of the 3 different modules and all of the components that go into them. The comparison. So we did a pretty extensive evaluation through the RFQ process. We looked at ADP. ADP is comprehensive. They're a very deep HR payroll system, but the trouble is that they really lacked specific features that would fit in well into the public sector. They were also the highest cost
of all of the different systems that we looked at, both in implementation and in annual subscription fees. We looked at Paylocity, good payroll, good benefit system, but again, lacking integration capabilities for a lot of the different systems and not speaking to the public sector. Bamboo was lovely, very user-friendly, very experience generated, but didn't really feel scalable and felt like it was really catered towards smaller organizations. And again, they were missing that component that really the team needed in that public sector recognition. So that brought us to NeoGov. It's comprehensive and tailored. It was specifically designed for public sector needs, and it offered integrated compliance reporting, onboarding. I mean, it was just all of the boxes. So implementation, I think this is important for me to talk to you about because there are a lot of pieces here, and we really want to be very clear that every single module would be individualized in the implementation process. We will look at 3 different phases for every time we roll something out. Doing a needs assessment to make sure that we're configuring it correctly for the team's needs. Data migration and testing, so building it out, making sure it works in the way that we expect it to, and then going into training the leaders, training the managers, training the employees before we go live to make sure that we're really getting a full success out of each of these things that we implement. This is the big screen, the timeline. This is a 2-year rollout. So we want to be very conscientious about how we roll things out, making sure that I talk about it as building a pyramid, right? You have to build the foundation before you can start to build your pyramid up high. And that is sort of the way that we looked at this. This is based off of best practice from NeoGov, from their implementation team, and then also taking into consideration the workforce here who would be helping to implement and build it out. It is modifiable, so we can speed things along. Yeah.
So on payroll, you have it specifically for June and, July, because of our fiscal year being July.
And
so we're kind of leave it alone right now and then would adopt this for
correct.
next fiscal year.
That's correct. So we would build out the base system, which would be setting up the departments, the different divisions, the employees within the system, and then you would then roll your payroll out after that. So it has to be kind of somewhere after that first series of base level building.
And then, so there's 13 modules on your price thing, and there's a discount if you do all 13.
That is correct.
Do you feel, could we get by only doing a few, or you kind of feel it's an all or nothing? What is your?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an all or nothing. I think that there's a huge advantage to taking the system in full. They do offer a bundled discount, so you're getting a discount on services because you're taking the full service package. So you would lose that discount if you pick and chose.
So then basically by losing that 50, I wanna say it's 51, I could be wrong, then that kind of mutes if you went ahead and did theirs.
I mean, I could certainly get
I
pricing,
didn't add
but
it,
yeah,
but
there is
okay.
definitely an advantage. And the way that they've done it is they put a heavy discount as well, knowing that it's a ramp up period. So it's a ramp promotion where year 1, you're looking at your professional service fee and then 10% of the subscription. Then year 2 into 60% of the subscription fees, year 3 to 75%, year 4 to 90%. And then year 5, that's the actual full total of what the annual fee is for all of the modules. And again, that's discounted because they're saying you're getting all of these and we're gonna give you a 30% discount on the bundle of services.
And then what would you pay after that 5 years per year?
So then it would be the 114. So that would be your annual subscription for it. And then this is my favorite part. We took some testimonials. So gal you may know named Kathy Pluckett. I'm sold. Let's go with them right now. But it was really lovely. We also, I messaged everybody in Oregon at all of the different counties and public sectors and said, has anybody evaluated this? Do you use it? Do you like it? Or are there any flags that we should be aware of? So it was really lovely to get some positive feedback. Polk County came back to us, Josephine County came back to us. And then I had a really lovely extensive call with Benton County about their experience because they actually have an entire subject matter expert team that dives into NeoGov. And their only grievance was they want the full system. She said, we want it all. We have some things that we're kind of grandfathered into already, but she said, I love it. The customer service is amazing. The implementation team was amazing. And they host these annual conferences that you can go to deep dive into the product and meet other folks from other areas who also use the services. So overall, it's a comprehensive integrated solution that meets the county's strategic goals. And we'd like to request your consideration in hopefully moving forward with the service.
Is Christina or Jamie on the phone or?
They are both online.
Okay, my question would be, how does this work into our budget, looking at these costs? What are your thoughts? Do we need a budget adjustment, or how would you evaluate this? There's Christina. Okay, Christina, give us the word here.
Yeah, so this is something we will need to work through, as it's significantly different than what the original costs were planned to be. Jamie may be on as well. But
Hello.
there she is.
Good morning. So what was the originally budgeted for? What were we originally budgeted for?
So we planned on $90,000 for fiscal year 25 for, that includes, some other softwares and things that we're doing. We currently have 60,000 budgeted for our, hiring thing, like advertising and recruiting costs. So, you know, if you could combine those, work together, you'd have to really look at, you know, how much are we paying for implementation on the county side, not with NeoGov itself, but just on our side. How much additional contract work do we need, since, you know, is Amy the one heavily implementing this, or how are we implementing it on our side? I guess that's the question. So, you know, we might need to plan on extra budget for that piece.
So what would your answer to that question be?
And Amy and I talked a bit about that. I do think she will need support in helping to implement, especially the core HR module. My offer stands to the county of, I am a resource as long as you see fit to have me help you. I also talked to her a bit about you know, we would need to talk to Will. Maybe you get an HR intern. Maybe you can bring someone in for special projects, but it would be a huge ask to have her maintain her current role and try to do this by herself.
So another question I have is, so we don't have an HR director. We need to go out and recruit.
Yes.
Is this something that maybe we should wait until we get that HR director? Because then that HR director makes it their own? That would be my question to you. I mean, do we jump on this now, or are we better off to recruit, get a person and do that? And then I'm just.
Yes,
like I said,
so my encouragement to you as an HR practitioner with over 20 years of experience, including leading entire HR teams for large organizations, would be, don't bring someone in and throw this at them. Set it up so that when they come in, they have a tool to use with the information readily available and can focus on strategic initiatives. This is something I think that an internal team can get built out. It's going to bring so much efficiencies to the entire leadership team of the county, because you're getting access to information. You're creating a system inside where people can get in and get the things they know or need without having to call Amy or stop by her office or bother, you know, Kathy. So, I mean, my recommendation would be to build it. We can move slow with creating the different steps and the modules. It may move faster than you expect it to once you start building out the system. The recruitment system also is it is incredible. It takes you to full access of the government jobs. They are able to search through candidates who have flagged themselves as interested and open to opportunities. So you're getting a repository of actual candidates who have experience in this sector. So it will even change your recruitment process. You might find it's easier to roll out recruitment and then start looking for candidates in there. But I mean, I speak out of turn. I'm just I'm just here to help and offer guidance. So I don't know if any of the other folks want to add color to that.
So your opinion is go for it, and then when the HR director comes.
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to get that.
yeah, that would be
Okay.
my personal opinion.
Okay.
And I agree, because I think the director that comes in will have something more, you know,
Yeah, bigger
established,
fish
and they
to-
won't have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Work on that, plus the HR and it serves no county, and so there's,
Yes.
from my perspective, there's no sense in waiting. He's still in.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
So as we expand, let's say we get more employees as we go on, this will grow with us.
That's correct, yes.
And what's your thoughts, Will?
Well, I just have a quick question for Crystal. I think you mentioned this in your presentation, but for the four organizations or companies that responded or provided information, did we actually do an RFQ and like ask for
Yes.
folks to respond to?
Yes, we sure did.
And those were the only four that responded?
I believe there was 5, one that we determined didn't have nearly the capacity for what the needs were, so we did not move forward in evaluating them, but yes, these were the four that were actual.
Legitimate.
Correct.
And they're the ones who expressed, they're the ones who expressed interest in, yeah.
Yeah, and they've all 4 been lovely to work with. I will say, I think all 4 of the organizations have been very responsive, very interactive, very patient with us as we continue to ask questions.
How was I know you said the one on the left was the highest priced. How about the other two? How did they kind of fit in price wise?
Sure, so Paylocity was
Comparable.
right about mid, Bamboo was much lower, but that's again because it was really lacking a lot of the features that we would have to keep a lot of extra things on the side to be able to supplement.
So where did this one fit in that?
This
Kind
was
of
the
just
second.
This was the second highest,
Yeah.
okay.
I think if you're asking for just kind of my thoughts on it,
Kind of wanted to, yeah.
I think it's prudent to move forward with it, but I would like a week or two to think about implementation and how we're actually gonna implement it and make sure we actually have a plan in place. So what I would recommend if the board wants to move forward with this is we don't put it on the agenda for next week for approval, but instead mid-July. And then the 17th, so that we can just make sure we actually have a plan in place for implementation without an HR director, with Amy being, you know, the only body in HR right now, just make sure we actually have a plan that works for implementation. So I think it sounds like a great solution for us, and I don't want to slow it down, but I do want to make sure we have the means of implementing it and a plan in place to do so.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I also would, make a recommendation that we use Crystal for whatever help that she's willing to provide, because it's essential to be able to make this work, and it takes that power, knowledge, dedication, someone that's familiar with it to make it work, so I certainly would want her.
And I do also mirror Brian's comments, because you're the one, you've investigated all of these. You know its strengths, you know that there's a weakness there, you know it. So yes, I totally mirror his comments, and I do go along with your recommendation, and that would be better. I think that's great. And I think you did a wonderful, you're very enthusiastic, and you did a wonderful, and I liked that we had what was it, what did you call it, animation?
Yes.
There, I was trying to search for the term.
It just felt like it really gave flavor to the.
I think it did, especially Kathy Puckett and Rebecca.
Well, and the team, I want to thank the committee as well, and thank you for showing up, everybody. They've just been very supportive, and I really wanted to make sure that everybody along this journey, this is for you, and I want to make sure it's what you're looking for, so.
Yeah, no, No, I think this is a move towards getting a stronger and better HR department. So thank you very much
My
for.
pleasure. Thank
for
you for
helping
having
and-
me.
Yeah, I totally agree. We wanna make sure.
Thank
keep
you too,
involved.
Amy. So yes, we're gonna get her. We're gonna get her done.
You're gonna look back and go, how in the world did we wait so long for this?
Perfect, perfect. And I do like it. So I guess we have no action because we're waiting till the 17th and you're gonna.
Yes,
First
so
thing.
I will I'll coordinate with Crystal and.
I'll coordinate with Will.
And we'll put I just wanna make sure we got a plan in place
Yeah.
so that we can hit the ground.
Perfect. I think that's great. Get a big whip and just whip on.
Thank you. I know where to find you, so that's it's the good news.
I'll have to find a new items.
Thank you. I'll still find you.
I think Crystal would find you. Perfect. Thank you very much, Crystal.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yes, great presentation.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you,
good.
Crystal.
Jackie?
He is online.
Good morning. So the first thing we have, the USDA, our wildlife services agreement with them comes to an end at the end of this month. So they sent us their agreement renewal for the next fiscal year for $15,000 to provide wildlife services as far as bird mitigation and rodent mitigation to prevent damage and conflicts for operations. So this is just needing your guys' signature in order to renew that agreement.
And who provides that? Is that John or is that the other one?
We have Brian Cyrus.
Okay.
He's the guy we work with up here.
Perfect.
I think I could come out and shoot birds for that. You probably don't want the Jackie, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we have to move this to the consent agenda. Stop, John. I think I might be good at it.
Yeah, I just moved it to the consent agenda. Next, Jackie?
Okay, so update on solid waste management plan. We're moving along. Excuse me. So we're trying to finish up Jerry Friesen's scope of work. So he is working on 2 options for us right now. The first of which is the landfill gas system. As you know, it's more of a when it will happen, not an if it will happen. So we're looking at a way to fund the gas system. It's a very costly system to put in. So his suggestion, and we're just looking to make sure this is something the county wants to go with before he finalizes his memo. His suggestion would be to put out an RFP to someone who wants to purchase the gas to make renewable energy. So they would pay to put in the gas wells, the system, the flare, and then whatever we generate or whatever they generate off of that would be theirs to keep. So Jerry's hoping a company like Facebook would be interested in that, or Cascade Natural Gas. That is who Knott's Landfill has for theirs. So he's just wondering if that is something that the county would like to look into, is putting out an RFP and allowing a company to retain those, retain the right to have it off of the gas
Makes
system.
sense to me. Why not? Turn
Yeah.
lemon into lemonade.
Kind of from my understanding that there's gonna be very minimal gas. In fact, it's was slated to be kind of expensive because we may have to run a flame to burn the gas. So I
Yes.
don't know how profitable it is, but I'm certainly, consider moving forward. Having somebody else bid on it if you've seen, but sounds like it's not a very positive business venture.
Yeah, so right now we just did our last quarterly testing for surface emissions monitoring. We did pass, so we've passed 2 quarters in a row for the first time, so that was good news. The unfortunate part, we worked with PBS and there's no way to know upfront what the volume of gas would be that we generate until you install those gas wells. So it would be a company coming in blind, but down the road, if we get enough garbage and generate enough energy, then that would be something that would be very beneficial and profitable to that company.
So you're saying they're betting on the long term by jumping in early?
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
okay. The second thing he's been working on involves Deschutes County. So as you know, Deschutes County is running out of airspace for the landfill that they have currently, and they're looking at options to expand their lifespan. They need to expand to, the year I was given was 2032. So I was approached by them to see if we would like to take their garbage from the Redmond transfer station. So Jerry Friesen began pulling some numbers and putting some information together. I did not provide that to you just because the tipping fees and some of the numbers need a little bit of a tweaking to make it correct, but essentially the sorry, I lost my train of thought. So they would be guaranteeing us garbage for 7 years if they go with bringing garbage here. They also have the operation or the option of trucking that out to Wasco County or the Dalles or somewhere like that where Jefferson County goes for a cheaper rate. But if they bring it to us, they guarantee it for 7 years. We have the potential to gain approximately $5 million, but it's not going to be profitable to us until 2029, 2030. We will be losing money due to the annual operating costs. So until 2029, 2030, we wouldn't start to reap the benefits of that. The only other issue is at Redmond's transfer station, they are not able to separate construction debris from municipal solid waste. So we have a cell for each. We have cell 4 is our municipal solid waste. Cell 3 is construction and demolition. Anybody that brings us a mixed load gets charged a mixed load fee, which is an additional $15 per ton. Republic Services pays that. The regular Joe that comes through the gate pays that. Deschutes County, it sounds like, is not willing to pay that. So that is something that you guys would have to decide if you wanted to allow them to come in not paying that, or if you would like the full gamut of the costs.
Did they talk about how much that would affect our longevity of our?
Yeah,
landfill?
so right now we're projected to last until 2035 without Redmond's garbage in
Okay.
cell 4. If we began taking their garbage, we would need to look at 2029, I believe it was, to be ready to go with a new cell.
So I would recommend we take a little bit of a deeper dive. into
Yeah,
some of the,
100%.
We need to know the costs
yeah,
and all
yeah,
of
yeah,
that, so
so
yeah,
We'll see a whole business report on it.
yeah.
yeah, so Jackie, why don't we follow up and get together and chat a little bit more on what information we have and what we need to get and start to put together some more info.
Would you like me to, so the reason his spreadsheet's off is the cost per tonnage rate is not correct. They kind of need an answer quickly as to whether they want to move forward. JRMA that's running the program needs Jerry to kind of finish up. So if I have him update all of his information to make more current and correct, would you like me to just email it to all of you, or?
What kind of deadline is it Deschutes
I
County?
don't have any. What's that?
I was just curious what kind of deadline we're dealing with.
I'm not, they're hoping to get Jerry finished up here pretty soon. I don't have an exact date, but I know I've been copied on several emails where they're asking him to finish up, so just one of the things that we were looking at is that mixed load rate fee, if that was a make it or break it deal for the county. Cause it sounds like Deschutes County is not willing to pay that, and they do have the option to truck it, so they just kind of want to know if this is a make it or break it deal for the county, so Jerry can move on to other parts for the solid waste management plan.
Well, based on the information I've heard, it's a great deal because I'm not ready to make any commitment to this without more information and quite a lot
Okay.
more information, so.
Yeah,
If they're pushing for time, then tell them thank you. I'm not interested.
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
How do we tell the citizens and everybody else that they have to pay this additional fee, but then a neighboring county that has no real buy-in in our community gets a smoking deal? So, yeah. I'm uninterested.
And I agree with the other two.
Okay,
So maybe we just save some more.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Thank you, Jackie.
all right. Thank you.
Are you around today?
Can I request that we jump to veteran services?
We can jump
Sure.
around.
For your second.
I
Yeah,
just
I'm
blocked you all together.
perfect. I'd like to give them a chance to get back to the office. But I am hoping to introduce you all to our veteran services staff. Tom Evans and Mona Glade have been doing a phenomenal job. And I'll let Tom speak to some of the numbers and some of the outcomes that they've accomplished. He just hit his 6-month mark. And Mona, it'll be a year in October. All right. So I'll turn it over to you guys to introduce yourselves in a little more detail, and Tom, if there's anything you want to share, please do.
So I'm Tom Evans, I'm the veteran service officer for the county, so nice to meet everybody face to face. I've seen a couple of you out in the community since I've been here. Mona's been here, like I said, like Katie said, for about a year. She's been awesome. I mean, she's been such a resource and for me, she's been a great face for our office.
You need to grow a little bit.
She's got a booster seat.
So, a little bit about me, I was in the Army for 6 years, I was infantryman, I deployed both to Iraq and Afghanistan, got wounded on my last deployment and got medically retired out. Worked a few random fields when I got out, got involved in veteran services about a year ago, working with homeless and low-income veterans in Bend, getting into housing, and here I am. So, a little bit about our numbers. So, since I started, started in January, went through a bunch of training in January, so I really didn't start seeing clients until last week of January, first week of February. But since then, we've had 354 packaged claims between about 200 veterans that have come in. So far, we've only had about 35 come back, but it does take about 7 months to a year for them to come back. So we're starting to see them trickling in. But 35 new claims have been approved, totaling about $75,000 per month. 54 retroactive awards have come in as well too, which includes those 35 claims as well as 19 supplemental claims, which are challenging previous denials that veterans had. Those retroactive awards are totaling $260,000, so pretty nice income bump for the veterans in our county, and hopefully those numbers will increase significantly by the end of the year. We've had 51 new veterans enrolled since I started. My first quarter, I filed 111 new claims, so that's really just between 2 months though, because that first month I was in training and getting started. And that's compared to 41 claims filed by the last VSO. So trying to get our numbers up, trying to get more veterans involved, in the services that they're eligible for. I've been working with multiple agencies in Central Oregon, to include like Central Oregon Veterans Outreach, the Oregon Veterans Ranch as well too, it's in between Bend and Redmond. As well as other social services agencies like Neighbor Impact, Thrive, trying to work with low-income veterans in our community, as well as veterans experiencing like food insecurity or house sickness. But most importantly, I think Mona and I have both done a pretty good job at, instilling confidence in our office again and letting people know that we're here, we're willing to help, and it's definitely shown people have been coming in a lot more regularly since we started. but happy to be here and happy to serve that as the.
Good job, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm Mona Glade, born and raised in Lakeview, Oregon, came up here 8 years ago. My adult life has been medical assistant, EMT, fire structural firefighting, and 911 dispatching. So my adult life has been helping people, and this kind of fell into that, and I feel real comfortable in this role, and I think that people that have been apprehensive to come back into our office have felt very welcomed, and they're telling all their friends, and we're getting more people all the time, so I think we're doing a good job together.
Keep up the work.
Yeah, thank you.
I have, Band of Brothers, first of all, I want to thank you for your service to our country. That's very important and I'm heartfelt in my thanks. I have people that have said you're not at Band of Brothers.
So,
There's one breakfast I know that's free a month. I went to it. I saw some of the veterans. I could tell by some of them that they definitely do have food insecurity. So can I, let's say, encourage you to maybe reach out a little bit more to that breakfast?
so I've been working with them quite a bit since I started.
Okay.
The reason why I didn't show up for a couple of months is because I had a severe back injury.
And I had heard that,
Yeah,
that your
so I
back
had
was bad.
surgery, so I was unable to really, I was having a hard enough time getting into the office at the time.
Okay,
And the Band of Brothers leadership knows my contact information, they know that they have very easy access to me, so if there was ever a veteran that was in great need, they were able to contact me. I just wasn't physically able at the time to really do that, because I could barely bend down the time to shoes. So.
I encourage you to just show your face there.
And I have,
Just let
I've
me
been-
see and
I've been
pour
showing up
coffee
and I've been there at the monthly meeting. I started going again in June. I'm going again next
Perfect.
week for July.
You've made me
So-
very happy. Thank you very, very much. And then there's a gal, she wanted to volunteer for you. Her name was Pamela. I think her last name is Berrigan. I encourage you if you could contact her and because I know she's really
She's
eager to help.
Yeah, we've talked to her quite a bit
Okay.
and we're working on some things.
Okay.
We're working on maybe doing some more outreach, so we'd like to get her involved. in that.
Okay, perfect. I spoke to her too. So anyway, but again, thank you very much. You provided a really important service to the county and I don't want to be critical of you, but I was just telling you a couple things that I've had. Thank you very much.
And if you guys need to get back here,
Yeah.
you're welcome
Yeah,
to.
thanks.
You don't want to be at a board meeting like us? Gosh.
We have clients to attend
Okay. Thank you guys. So if we jump back, we have a couple of grant awards that we've been offered. Our nurse practitioner, Dr. Joan Gabe, took the initiative to apply for some state funding that our reproductive health clinic is eligible for. The two awards that we have been offered, I'll find my notes.
One for 125 is wonderful.
Yes, so both of these awards will offset staffing costs. So we built FTE into both of them. There's also some outreach, which our staff in the clinic are billed for revenue. And so for them to be out of the clinic doing outreach does not result in billing revenue. So this grant fund will allow for additional outreach while offsetting the cost of FTE. We also have annual subscription fees or maintenance fees for software for our electronic health records. And these grant funds will offset those costs. Typically, we budget those into billing revenue and other grants. And so this grant funding will offset those costs for the next fiscal year and allow us to build up both in billing revenue and savings in our software costs to have more of a carryover amount in the next fiscal year, which is fantastic. So two award amounts, those RFPs were put out at the same time, but they are two separate funding streams. So there's the the one that's a little over 125,000, and then there's one that is, I believe, a little over 65,000.
56. 56, you got your,
Uh-huh.
your fledge, but, well, we hope it was for 65.
I don't know, I guess 56. So, my request would be to bump that for approval so we can start the contracting process and get those funds into the county.
And then it needs to go on consent agenda, both of them, and tell Joe, good work.
Yes, she's
Very
in
good.
Galapagos today.
Oh.
For this,
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
chaperoning the trip for the high school students, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
hopefully having a lovely time.
Yeah.
Let's see if I missed anything with. Yeah, those are the big things. It's not adding necessarily any services, but supporting the sustainability of our clinic. Alright,
You have
on the agenda.
for the board.
Community Health Advisory Council, so there's, I believe, 3 separate requests relating to the Community Health Advisory Council. What's the first one that we're looking at?
Amendments to bylaws.
The amendment to the bylaws, okay,
yeah.
this will be a good introduction to some of the other things that I'll talk about. We have, we have, 4 official vacancies out of the 15 members, the 15 spots on that council. But we also have an additional 4 vacancies that we've had people leave. And our bylaws will not allow us to fill those positions unless there was formal notification in writing. And in a couple of those cases, that was not possible for the people vacating to provide that communication, and there has not been any follow-up with them or the ability to have follow-up with them. The council met and has reviewed those particular positions. There is a space in the bylaws where they can say, hey, these folks haven't been fulfilling their duties. We would vote to vacate that spot and appoint someone else. So they did make that vote, but we would also like to formally amend the bylaws so that there's not just writing. Like it's specified that it had to be a letter and it had to come to me. So we added in those bylaws a couple of different pathways for people to provide notice that they're vacating a position and keeping space for the council members to recognize when someone has not been fulfilling the duties of their position for them to be able to vote to appoint someone else into that spot. The other changes in the bylaws are just updating language around the change to a board of commissioners. And I believe there is a red line draft in the packet and then a clean draft that we can move forward for signature at the next board meeting.
The positions that are vacant, what category are they like?
So we have a position that's historically been filled by the police department. Some other demographics that are not currently represented are veterans, youth, and we don't have any representation from the city. I also noted, and I don't know if Cheryl's on board, but I would online, I'd have to double check with her. I don't think that, because you and I are both sitting on that, but I don't think we've been officially appointed in any meeting setting. So we should probably make that happen as well.
Okay.
I do have an appointment. We've had somebody respond to Sarah's work for outreach, as well as, so this position, Liddell was recruited through our, IBD, Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Program, Housed in Best Care. They have a legislative requirement to have someone represented in this space who has lived experience. And so, Liddell is filling that role for us. She works for the school district. She attended our last meeting. Our meetings are open to the public, and so she was able to attend and confirm that it was something that she is very passionate about and interested in supporting long term. So she has submitted her application for appointment, which is also on our agenda, and upon review could be bumped to the next board meeting.
I'm good moving it forward.
Okay, we'll continue recruiting, but if anyone crosses paths with folks who might be a good fit, I'll talk about the work of the group next, so that might help you think about and identify who might be a good fit for this council.
So just for process, the amendment to the bylaws, that can just go on consent and stay with the appointment.
Yeah, and I'll create an order for it. Yeah, I think the grants, I think all 4 things she's presented.
Yeah.
Can go ahead, yeah, and be on consent. So it'll be fine.
So my next and last request for you all is one of the responsibilities of this Community Health Advisory Council is to provide an update to the Board of Commissioners on at minimum of an annual basis. And I don't think it's happened in a while, so I would like to do that at our next at your next board meeting. And so I'm seeking feedback on what you all want to hear. I'll share the kind of big buckets of our work plan, but if there's anything specific you want me to bring to you in the meeting next week when I provide the formal update, I'll prepare for that and bring that information to you. The group's current work plan has prioritized addressing staffing in both the behavioral health world and health in general. In Crook County, we were just talking about a lack of access even to primary care providers in the county. And so this group is looking at that, as well as it is so hard to recruit and retain behavioral health professionals in an agency setting. And so supporting work through, we identified 4 things that are impacting recruitment and retention for providers. One is the issue of childcare. Another is housing, which Seth and I are both sitting on a COIC work group around that, so there's a little bit of overlap there. Addressing provider burnout and fatigue, as well as that recruitment and retention work of, how are we promoting these positions and how are we providing workspaces that keep them here once we have them in the door. So staffing is one focus area of this group. Health system coordination is the second of 3. And so the group is working to develop and implement a sustainable network that formalizes health system coordination in the county. So making sure that despite staffing turnover and churn across the health system, there are formalized processes where behavioral health and primary care and emergency room systems are meeting regardless of who's in those positions, and that there's structured care coordination among those entities. Thirdly, the group is legislatively mandated to provide accountability to our contracted community mental health program, which is Best Care, providing those services. And so the bulk of our work has been understanding what are we even holding them accountable to? And so a lot of our group is new or newer. And so we've been receiving presentations from Best Care on the different service elements that they are required to provide through their Oregon Health Authority contract. And so there's been a lot of education and feedback between Best Care providing those updates to this group. And then this group has been able to then request, okay, well, if we know we need to make sure they're doing X, Y, Z, what is the evidence that we need them to provide to know that they're doing it? So we're working through that process and developing those systems for accountability as well. And support. I mean, there's this aspect of accountability and also knowing that things like staffing and health system coordination are influencing Best Care's ability to be successful in those spaces. How do we help them problem solve those, help them be successful long term? So that being said, if there's anything specific, I plan on reporting some details on progress we've made in those 3 buckets, but if there's anything specific that you would like to hear about the work the group is doing, I'm happy to take note of that and bring it back up.
Now, this is selfish, but I would, if you wouldn't present it next week when I'm not here, I would like if you could present it at the next court meeting. I do think that's really important to get that out on the public, but I would like to be selfish and ask. I don't know if you guys would care, but I would.
I can present it,
So if you could do it, whatever
Wherever.
the next,
Mhm.
the next, the 17th, if you could do that for me, that would make me very happy, Katie. Thank you very much. Cause I would really like to hear your presentation.
is there anything that you all have been receiving community feedback on, that might be helpful for you to hear back about?
No.
All right,
Which is sometimes good.
we're gonna go with that.
Yeah. I would.
No news is good.
It is not easy work that, Best Care does, and it is definitely not, there are no light topics that this advisory council tackles each meeting. So we meet, every other month, so 6 times a year, and, they are busy. They're in the thick of it. I'd also like to give a shout out to my prevention and health promotion team. They provide a lot of the staffing support for that group and the logistics behind the scenes to help it run smoothly.
Yeah, it's a very needed, and it's a very tough, and I think we've all been around long enough to know that. You know, there's a growing demand for it, and, there was times that, you know, Best Care is shining compared to some of the areas that we've been previously.
I would agree.
But,
And yet it's still tough.
but to your point, Katie, it's a very difficult field and you have a lot of emotion tied to those things. And
Mhm.
a lot of people that are engaged, that are uncomfortable about everything. So, yeah.
Yes, what our Best Care staff have been through recently with the increased acuity in both substance use disorders and mental health issues that they are addressing. I mean, that is part of like, how do we support our staff that are providing those services that are so needed? And then also coordination with public safety is something that we've been working really hard on. So one of the things that this group is focused on is how to invest our opioid settlement dollars in a way that may support the standing up of the deflection program through parole and probation and Carrie's office. So there's a lot of moving parts with this group that I'll be excited to share out with you all.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you very much.
Anything else, Katie?
I think that was.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw there was a lot here. so I
Thank you
wanted to
for
make sure.
holding on for me.
Yes, of course. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Will?
Randy?
He's got you two really responding here. He's not snapping his fingers at you. is he?
We learned our lesson. Took away my public grants.
Need to work with partner. So, since you guys stole Will from us, we'll go ahead and take on the report this month. So Randy and I have the May report for community development. For the most part, the report looks pretty similar to what you guys have been seeing in past months. So number wise and that sort of thing, it's definitely fairly similar, but I will note that we've added some of the key performance indicators from our strategic plan. So you'll start to see those kind of roll through on the report. We'll try and update them, kind of highlight over time. So we have a couple of them in building this month, and then we have one in code enforcement that we'll touch on as we go through the report. So I'll let Randy start in building.
So if you get kind of like a general overview, if you look at the numbers, I mean, for the month of May and year to date, you know, we're only 40 down, so it's not a huge, you know, loss of permitting from last year. You know, almost 30 houses this month. The residential permits you can see are up to, it's, you know, summertime, everybody's trying to get out there and get their little decks or shops, you know, rolling and kind of enjoying the summer and getting some of the honeydews done, so. You know, so overall, we're not doing too bad, still averaging with the guys at least 1,000 site visits, inspections per month. You you know, currently 200 houses, almost 200 still under construction right now, 717 other type residential permits still active that we're working on, and 271 open commercial type permits. So moving into the more commercial world, we are looking at wrapping up most of our larger projects. CCO 56, the data center, we did our final walks yesterday. So as you guys know, those, as we turn on each data cell or data area, we work on the TCOs for that, and then as they complete each portion, then we do a final walk to make sure the entire building's complete. So we performed that yesterday. It's looking, they've got a couple little cleanup items that they need to do before they get the full CFO. And then phase 1 of Apple, we're also working on finishing up, so that would be something, you know, for the pilot program probably that, no?
No, they're locked in, it doesn't matter what they do.
Okay. Well, they've got a couple other small NDS buildings we're turning over too, so, but working on finishing on that and then working with Fortis to finish out the second phase of that existing building still. And then the Justice Center, looks like it's getting pretty close to, so, yes.
Can we find a few minutes today to talk about that?
Yeah.
CFOs. Temporary CFOs.
Yep, we can definitely have some discussions on, see what we got cooking there. I know that, the guys went and did the firebolt testing, was it yesterday as well, with Roger, your fire suppression guys, so. We do have we have been engaged by another potential small data center coming up on the hill. It's not super huge, but we haven't begun pre-app meetings with them yet to discuss any type of size of building, anything like that yet, but somebody has reached out and engaged the fire department, the city, and us. And then another one for you guys is that, we've got the restaurant and bar going up on Tom McCall Road. We've got the plans in for that, so that whole Tom McCall, kind of like they're buying pro
It's kind of
line.
the shopping center, and there's a restaurant in it, and then there's like other components.
Yep, I think they would, you know, initially it goes like a gas station, restaurant,
Yeah.
bar, and a few other ancillary buildings, but, you know, food carts, I think that was in there too, but looks like we got the plans for the restaurant bar.
Okay, so that's all you're doing.
No gas station.
Not yet.
What about this Ochico Valley daycare? Where's that going to be?
So that one's going in, if you're familiar with where the old honey hole was.
Okay,
So we're working with them to try to get their clients in there. We're finishing up the last little bit of code issues between us and the architect. So that's where that one's going.
okay.
Their red car wash is almost done, and that's going out there on the, you know, the east end of town. And then we still haven't heard back from the apartments. We're still in code discussions regarding deficiencies we found in the plan versus what the architect's drawn, so, you know, it's still ongoing there. But as Katrina mentioned too, adding the key performance indicators, one of our, you know, there's building departments kind of driven by the economy and other people's, you know, process. It's not like we can really go generate our own business. But what we do need to identify is our inspectors and our certification requirements within the department. So, you know, multiple certifications that are out there that we're required to maintain. Residential, you got your plumbing, electrical, mechanical, structure, manufactured home, plans examining. And then in the commercial world, you have to also duplicate those because you have to have a separate license to inspect commercial versus residential. So there's quite a few licensing we need. As you can see, we're just about 90% right now. Last year, we were about 70, and 7 years ago when I started, I'd say we were about 40%. And so that created a lot of inefficiencies for us because we would have one guy with a plumbing cert, one guy with an electrical, and one guy with a structural. So if somebody called in a rough inspection on a rough framing, you know, on a dwelling, we would have to send 3 guys in to do what one guy could do. So, at that point, we've got almost every one of our inspectors, all residential certified and at least one commercial. So that's what that, performance there is for us. So we're almost there. It's been 7 years. These numbers were way worse 7 years ago, but the team's done a lot of work to get certs.
Good for you, Wendy.
Especially during some very busy times
Yeah.
and big demands and
Yeah.
things, so it's a great achievement.
Very much so.
thank you for that, because it was, we had Facebook, Apple, I mean, we had over 3 million square foot of data center. And the people that we need to train our new guys are the guys that are ones that are dedicated up there, so it was a feat. So. I think that's all I got.
And then on the operations, part of that is the building permit type certification. So right before I started, it was about May of last year, our 4 permit types all became certified. So that achievement means they researched or studied, like a whole variety of things from process to authority to code enforcement. And then they are tested on that to get that certification, which is really important to understand. So that's pretty exciting that they are all certified, and our goal is to have them certified within 2 years of hire. So.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, on to planning.
I see here.
So it looks like for the month of May, planning had pretty equivalent applications. We had 30 applications compared to last year at 32. The site plan reviews are still, of course, our higher number, which that is showing that there's potential development coming our way, so that's always a good sign. Overall, for year to date, we're down quite a bit, but that's kind of what we've seen so far. As far as dollars are concerned for budget, because we're still down a person in personnel, we're still doing well. We're within what we expect. So let's see. Applications, Will, do you have anything to touch on current applications?
No, just quickly, I guess, yes, quickly regarding the Dollar General application. That was denied a couple weeks ago, and the planning commission this evening will be reviewing the decision. So the decision should be mailed out this week, and the 12-day appeal period will start after that. So
Do you have an indication, do you think they will appeal?
my gut says no.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, so on to on-site. For on-site, we had 17 applications this month, which was actually slightly, or in May, slightly higher than last year. And they're one of the departments who's actually kind of evening out for numbers as far as fiscal year-to-date comparisons. So that's looking like a pretty good sign. They're kind of always one of those that we see in the forefront of building. You'll see on-site start to pick up, so that's definitely a good sign. And then code enforcement, looks like we only had about 3 applications opened. We closed 8. We added a key performance indicator for code enforcement. We had a couple of goals in that strategic plan. One was to close 60% of cases within 90 days of the complaint coming in. And then the other one was to close 90% of the cases within a year of that complaint coming in. So you'll see that number shift quite a bit because we're looking at just the cases that were closed that month. As time goes on, then we'll take an average of a longer term, so you can kind of see where we're supposed to be, but we're really close in both areas.
And just kind of a side note on this topic, Katrina and I attended a AOC planning director meeting, and Deschutes County's community development administrative staff and code enforcement staff to put together a presentation on some of the steps they've taken over the last couple years to make their operations or their code enforcement process a little more efficient. And of course, Deschutes County has a much more robust Acela subscription. I think they kind of can do whatever they want with it. They can build it out how they want it. So some of what they do on their end, we can't recreate on our end, but I do think we got some ideas out of that in terms of some steps we could take to make our code enforcement process a little more efficient. So we'll explore some of those opportunities over next year, but it was a enlightening presentation. I thought it was,
sure.
I thought it was informative. Try to take what we can from it.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I just jump in real quick? So we don't have, I'm noticing here as I'm reviewing the report, we don't have on here anything about the long range planning projects that the county or the planning department is working on. So I know we talked about the Department of Defense grant and the TSP. As part of that TSP, we're doing a safety action plan, and we actually got a grant from the Federal Highway Administration for that. I think it's $120,000. We hit a little bit of a hiccup with that because I wanted to have the safety action plan be a part of the TSP. So we actually built that out in the scope with our consultant for the TSP. Unfortunately, the Federal Highway Administration is going to require us to go out for an RFP to complete for the safety action plan component of what we had in the scope of the TSP, because the grant was just for the safety action plan, not for the whole TSP. So they have their federal regulations. The way we retain parametrics doesn't fit neatly into their regulations. So they're asking us to go out for an RFP to get a consultant on board to do the safety action plan. So we have some hoops to jump through in that regard. And it's just, you know, I'm trying to decide right now whether or not I just want to separate the TSP out so we can move forward and get that done. And the safety action plan is always probably going to be a standalone document regardless. For efficiency's sake though, because there's, you know, we're talking about a transportation system plan, there's overlap between the safety action plan and the TSP. I was hoping we could just use the same consultant, and we still may ultimately be able to do that, but it's just gonna take us some time to go through the RFP and make sure there's not a better consultant out there to perform those services. And I've had that conversation with our consultant who's doing the TSP update, and they're aware of it, but unfortunately, it's gonna slow things down a little bit. So, you know, it's just a quick update on that. We're still working through exactly how we want to proceed with that.
Great.
Okay, anything else for us?
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I've got a 1 o'clock, so I didn't know.
I'm thinking, soon as we're out of here.
Or we got another
30, well, that's
hour?
Half hour, maybe, I don't, depends on hours. Mine will be full.
You know,
Yeah.
Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet, is it?
Interim manager report?
Yeah, no, just, yeah, you guys want a quick, report? I checked in with Richard Myers from GMP, the firm that's doing the recruiting for the county manager position. I checked in with him yesterday. He responded, he said he's received 10 applications so far for the county manager position. He had 2 conversations with potential candidates that have decided not to apply because of the not having PERS. But he did say he's gotten feedback from at least one candidate that said the county's retirement plan was generous and that the position should be seriously considered. So I'd say overall, that's exactly what we expect in terms of feedback. Good news that there's been 10 applications. And he's talking to a few other folks around the state that have interest. So that's all I have for the interim manager report. Just a quick update on that recruitment.
Kind of positive.
Yeah.
Very positive.
Anything else?
Commissioner update?
Yeah, I have bring forth a supplemental service agreement for Pinnacle Architect. This pertains to the second lot that we purchased. They have changed the same outfit. We're trying to get them incorporated together to try to save some money. I need to sign the authorization, the sign supplemental service agreement number 9. Pinnacle.
Well, we need to do it today.
Today.
I make a motion to sign Pinnacle supplemental services number 9 contract. I need to.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Got done with that.
Okay, you ready now?
Nothing else?
No, I don't really have anything.
The Crook County Board of Commissioners will now meet in executive session in the ORF and then 2660. Concerning the lower likelihood of the public body with regard to court litigation or litigation. Representatives and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to be representatives and media. Specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session previously announced. So decisions may be made in executive session, in the executive session, return to open session, will be announced by. Now leave executive session under ORS 192-66028, the purpose of consulting with counsel concerning the rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation will be filed. Representatives and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All our members of the audience are asked to the room. Representatives and specifically directed not to report any deliberations during the executive session, except the state is subject to the subject previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session, in the executive session, return to open session, walking down, back into the room. Any,
So commissioners, for the first item under executive session, I don't think that there's any action, just an update. For the second item under executive session, based on the discussion, I might recommend a motion to direct staff to correspond with the counterparties as discussed in the executive session.
So,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn the meeting?
Oh, I need to snicker it up. Okay.
thanks, Eric, for battling all that.